So just today, they've been having in South LA people to go around door to door to try to promote vaccines. And I heard a woman that was talking to the Hispanic women that were knocking on the door. They were really nice and they were trying to ask people if they had been vaccinated. And I suppose they were going to give information on where people in South Los Angeles and the communities that are underserved could go get vaccination. And she tells the women no bueno, as if, to say that she thinks it's no good, giving basically her opinion. Because what's being promoted online is horrendous and has caused some of the fear to really be persistent in some of the hardest hit communities, some of the lowest income communities, the income communities that are lower and on the end of where you have black and brown people. And a lot of what's being promoted, if it isn't religion that's far right, it's this type of promotion right here in this particular article, which could be scary if somebody were to see this. So, this might be one of the biggest reasons why, one of them. Studies saying COVID-19 vaccines cause heart inflammation that was hyped by anti-vaxxers has been withdrawn. It's been withdrawn due to miscalculation. So this is by Bethany Dawson. So I'm just going to say this. In these communities, people don't read. But what they read is things they shouldn't be reading that will put fear into them. And the things they really should be afraid of, they're not. And that's why these communities tend to be behind, or they tend to suffer great losses, or businesses don't do well because listening to people who are not really invested in these communities. They don't live in the community. They're not a part of anything that you're trying to do to get ahead. They basically put people in a box, and they've already used this as a weapon against us. And so a lot of it, what has happened is it's caused a lot of misinformation. And so this is yet but one of the biggest ones. When people hear these things about their heart could stop or their heart could get inflamed, they get afraid. And you have people who know how to doctor up flyers and put things online and make it look like maybe someone that has medical experience knows this, or they had a study and the study was correct. And so this right here, it says a preprint study stated that 1 out of every 1,000 recipients of the COVID vaccine could get myocarditis or myocarditis. So I may not have pronounced that correctly, but basically heart problems, heart inflammation is what it means. So the study has been withdrawn since then after a miscalculation, and it's been overestimated of the risk of heart conditions. So the COVID-19 is safe to get. But however, in the black community, you have a lot of people that won't get shots because they've seen these articles and they might have read this. Maybe a little flyer was handed out to them and they assume that they're going to get heart problems, which heart disease is something that happens even without COVID from some of the foods that we eat in the communities that are unhealthy. So anyway, and you never see anybody afraid to get those hamburgers and those, greasy foods. They're all in for that. And so they never change or cut back on some of those things that they like to, habit forming things they like to eat. But with something like this, it's really complicated. So the study has been since withdrawn, it says. So COVID-19 is safe to get, and there is more risk of getting myocarditis is what it is called, from COVID-19 than getting the shot itself. And so you can actually get that disease that it's talking about from not getting the shot, from contracting COVID or somebody around that has been infected. So a preprint study first published on MedR, I think it's XI, it's probably Roman numerals, that claimed 1 in 1,000 risk contracting myocarditis from the COVID-19 vaccination shot has been withdrawn due to miscalculations. And so I had saw those articles. I saw those articles myself, but it did not deter me from going and getting vaccinated at all. Because, think about it, 1 in 1,000, you know. So, and now they're saying it's miscalculation. So the study was first published September 16, and it was conducted by researchers at the University of Ottawa Heart Institute. And so it was widely used to promote the idea that the vaccine was unsafe for use. So this might be the main reason why you see people saying, oh, it's not good, it's not safe, it could kill us, it's giving us COVID, or it can make our heart stop or inflamed. And so these are informations that they had handed out or put online all over the place. So it says over 300 children in the UK could suffer life-shortening conditions caused by the COVID-19 vaccine after the new scientific study finds myocarditis occurs 1 in every, think about it, 1 in every 1,000. So you're going to be the 1 in every 1,000 that might get it. So it says people injected with COVID-19 vaccine. So this is misinformation that has been floating around the internet. It's been floating around in these communities, like primarily South LA, and probably with religious cults. They've been putting out this information as well. I'm sure they use this to their benefit so that they convert people to their groups. And so this is just yet another scheme to basically misinform groups of people who have been oppressed. So, however, the study has been retracted due to the miscalculations. So this is out of Reuters. So the rate of myocarditis, the inflammation of heart muscle, is what it's mainly was calculated by dividing the number of COVID-19 vaccines in Ottawa by the number of incidences of heart conditions. So by their calculation, the risk of myocarditis was 1 in 1,000 or 0.1%. And so, however, the numbers used to the study were wrong. Okay? So the authors largely underestimated the amount of vaccine delivered, giving the number 25 times smaller than the actual amount that they had given. So they initially said the number of vaccines delivered was 32,379, but when it was actually 854,930. So as a result of the miscalculation, the study was withdrawn altogether. So on September 24th, with the researchers saying in the statement, our reported incidents appeared vastly inflated, okay, by the incorrectly small denominator, i.e. an example number of doses administered over time period of study. So we reviewed the data available Open Ottawa found that there had been indeed a major underestimation with the actual numbers and of the administered doses being more than 800,000. And so that makes that number greater, which means there's lesser of a chance of myocarditis. So in order to avoid misleading either college or general public and the press, we, the authors, unanimously wish to withdraw this paper on the grounds of incorrect incidence data, they added. Now see, so far they have owned up and fessed up to the miscalculation and the mistake and what they had printed. But you still have people putting out this information, the misinformation and the wrong information, all in these communities. And that is one of the biggest reasons why you have people not getting the shot. And so I uncovered this, and I realized this could be one of the biggest results as to why some of the other people lag behind in getting vaccinated. So using the data from the vaccine safety data link, The CDC advised readers that other studies have shown that there was not significant association between myocarditis and pericarditis, which is an mRNA vaccines, when looking at all groups, although they did caution the association between mRNA vaccines, myocarditis, and pericarditis in younger individuals, of course, particularly higher among young males. So it's specific. And so, however, a preprint study on the prevalence of myocarditis in young men found that they are 6 times more likely to develop myocarditis from the COVID-19 than from the vaccine. Okay. Now, let me read that again. However, a preprint study on the prevalence of myocarditis in young men found that they are 6 times more likely to develop myocarditis from COVID-19, actually getting sick with COVID-19, than from a vaccine. So the vaccine helps keep you alive so that if you do get infected, that you won't go into cardiac arrest or have problems. So CDC continues to stress the importance of getting the vaccine, stating that any known risks of COVID-19 vaccines are far outweighed by the benefits. And so, unfortunately, this, called the expose, has been handed out, or it has been reprinted, or it has circulated all over the net. And it's crazy, because I really do believe that this is one of the reasons why, and I'm going to say this, Black people won't get, the ones that have not been vaccinated won't get shots, because when they see something like this, and if you're not really akin to reading all of this information, but you get something thrown in your face like this, right away it strikes fear, because you're thinking, oh my God, we already have a problem with heart issues, but now this, and so people get afraid, and they right away have already stigmatized it. And then it's coming from the government. And then they think about racism, and they think about some of the things that happened in the past, maybe happened to family members. And right away they feel like this is not going to be a good situation. It's going to make life worse. So anyway, I just thought I would put that out there. It's sad, but this is what's been floating around over the net. It's been causing a lot of misinformation in the Black communities, probably the brown communities as well. People see these flyers, religious cults that have popped up all over the place, because the pandemic creates fear. Any kinds of natural disasters, or if it isn't a natural disaster, if it's like a man-made disaster, if it's like a crazy event that happens like a pandemic, or some crazy sickness that spreads all over, people have fear. And what do people do? They're afraid, and they don't trust one another. And then people see that, and bad people who think, wow, people are afraid, they don't trust, but I'm going to seize the moment. They have all kinds of criminals and thieves and peddlers that'll get out there, and they'll push this misinformation to make people more afraid, so that they can join their groups, or they can, we've heard stories where people think they're getting a shot, and they pay all this money for the shot, and it turns out it's not the shot. People say they have the cure for the disease. They'll try to do crazy things, and they'll get you to pay money to get the cure. And so this stuff is going rampant. It's all over the place. And then you have this right here, the anti-vaxxers in these groups that are pushing the misinformation incorrectly, to where they're not giving good information, and they're giving like something that has been already withdrawn, but they keep pushing and pushing it and posting it. And so when people run across this, and they're not really about the news, they see stuff, but they hear stuff, but then when they see this in their face, they're thinking, oh, this must be true, and so I believe that's what has caused a lot of doubt and a lot of trust in these people coming around. So when they see the people coming around promoting, to try to help the community, they look at them as the bad people, so anyway, I just thought I would say that. I think that it's really bad that people won't do things to make themselves safe or to try to find some level of safety, or they have all this misinformation and fear. And then I've even heard people say they don't get the flu shot. Maybe they've seen something happen in another country and they think it's going to happen here. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You wouldn't believe, a lot of fear. I mean, a lot of fear. And so that has a lot to do with why people will not get the vaccine. And I think this was one of them. And it's been pushed all over the internet. I don't know why they hadn't stripped this, but unfortunately now this is a thing that people are looking at, and they're actually believing this. They're not even looking at what they did to resolve the issue, and that did they really research to find out that this stuff was not calculated correctly. And so this is the thing that has been pushed all over, and then the Black community is the one that get hurt by this kind of information that's being pushed out there incorrectly like this. So yeah, it's sad, but it's true.